Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it is time for my client Mike's vlog, and we're in a new gym again. We started the week off with max effort bench against 38 pounds of chains. He got 340 plus chains. Pretty happy with that as a coach. Also know that his triceps are very strong at the moment. Those JM presses, which he's quite strong at, are paying off. All right, afterwards he does some floor press. And then he does some JM presses. And something I want to mention here, everyone's like, oh man, he's always in great gyms. All these gyms have been in like 3 different states. Okay, before he even gets to each one, because some of these he was only there for 2 or 3 weeks, he found a gym online ahead of time that met his needs, managed to get in there and train 4 days a week while doing some work. So when you guys say, I can't find good gyms, I honestly don't believe you. You're not trying hard enough. I mean, there's exceptions, but this is in 3 different states. And we're talking hundreds of miles apart. And yet he manages to find properly equipped gyms. They're out there. You guys just aren't looking hard enough. Or, you don't want to pay the price to go to a good gym. Well, then don't complain about your results. Because the one thing I'll tell you right now, your environment matters. If you're not going to do a home gym and you're going to have to be around other people, you're going to make better gains in a strength gym than you are in a box gym, even with similar programming. We know this. All right, so after the JM presses, we have him do pull-ups. And I always do a couple different back exercises for Mike because I always need to keep working on his back. Things like his arms are always jacked. But back, we always need more in there for him. So for this phase, again, notice that this is the 3rd gym in a row where he found a seal row bench. Plus they got bands, chains, reverse hypers, all that stuff. But you got a seal row bench, okay? They're easy to find, guys. You guys just have to look around. But have him do pull-ups, and we do seal rows for his back. And then, of course, we finish up with some dumbbell laterals. So we do a max effort lift, floor press, JM press, pull-ups, seal rows, lateral raises. Call it a day. That's a nice heavy amount of training volume. Okay, 3 sets of each of these, you should be done. Okay, you should be done. And I tell a lot of guys that they think that they need more stuff than this, I don't know what to tell you, because this is one of my drug-free guys. Now, he doesn't have that denser look that a lot of my guys on gear have, but he's still big. And why are we lifting? We're lifting for hypertrophy, everything outside of our max work, speed work, all of that. All right, max effort lower. I think he got like 421 on a safety bar box squat, right about parallel. Came up nice and quick once he got off the box. I'm happy with that. All right, what's our supplemental work look like? Very straightforward. All right, he does. And I consider this to be a lot of volume. This is very high volume. This is near the limits of what any of you should be doing for a lower body day. All right, he does. Right now, we're doing good mornings with a safety squat bar. Okay. Again, you guys know how I feel about this lift. We live on it. We live on this lift. Most of my lifters do tons of good mornings, particularly those without access to a lot of specialty equipment. And, that's one thing that my clients will always notice when they come over. They're not in a gym that's really equipped for lower body stuff and posterior chain. They're going to do a lot of good mornings. Okay, we're going to good morning them into the ground because it's really our only option for building those areas up. Right afterwards, he does a wide stance belt squat. Although he did complain to me with this belt squat. I think this is, the pit shark, that he has to load so many plates on it. It's kind of an annoyance. That's the downside to getting strong and using some of this stuff. You've got to load up tons of plates for deadlifts, tons of plates for your leg machines, tons of plates for reverse hypers once you get strong. It's the name of the game. Hey, you get some free conditioning work. But he did notice that he needs more weight on this device than some of the others in order to get the same rate of perceived exertion. Okay, then I have him do some goblet squats at the moment. I feel like he would benefit from them. Now, keeping in mind, because then he does reverse hypers also, this is a lot. This is a lot of work. Okay, because we did good mornings, belt squats, goblet squats, reverse hypers. All right, that's 4 exercises, supplemental lifts for a lower body day. Okay, again, it's a lot of workload. It's why the stimulus to fatigue starts to matter. That's why we like things like belt squats. Even using a goblet squat if you have to, because it's easier on recovery than a lot of movements. Reverse hyper. We've got to get that axial loading down. And particularly if we're using a lot of good mornings, that is basically our supplemental axial loading. Again, to handle these workloads, we've got to be able to recover. All right, dynamic effort bench day. He did his normal rotation, 3 sets wide, medium close. He ran them against chains. Fortunately, he's at a gym now with a lot of chains, a lot of bands. All right, then we did floor press. And, you know, I have Mike live on floor presses, and if you look at the amount of arch that he does and everything else, the floor press has always been a mainstay for Mike. You know, keep in mind, he had a sub 300 bench when he first came to me, and that was after over a decade of training. Now you guys just watch him do 340 plus a bunch of chains, okay, and it looked clean. We live on the floor press. Again, floor presses and JM presses have worked wonders for Mike on his bench. And I mean, I get good results from these 2 movements also. So you can't really go wrong with them, even though I do like to do a lot of dumbbell work and stuff. You can't go wrong with these. And again, keeping in mind, this is a 200-pound drug-free lifter, right? This is a guy not on anything. He just has a lot of years under the bar. Plus, we did a very aggressive bulk. You know, we bulked him for well over a year, got him up to 230, then he cut down to 200. But notice that just about 200 pounds, he's just a little above. Benching strength is there again. It waned a little, and now we've got it back on point. All right, so afterwards, again, our same normal stuff. Pull-ups, which I didn't film these in here because this video is going to run long. But there's his seal rows, and we do lateral raises. And that kind of brings up another point. People always want to come up with really fancy stuff for shoulders. You don't need anything fancy for shoulders. Various raises, right? And particularly if you're doing a lot of pulling and pressing, you may not need a lot of front raises or rear stuff. You could, but raises, you know, whether they're front raises, side raises, rear delt flies, which is still a raise, right? Some upright rows. And these things can be done with basic things, sometimes plates, dumbbells, cables, you know, doesn't matter. Change it up. Even though the delts are the largest, most complex muscle in the upper body, there's no need to come up with really silly movements. All right, speed lower, we're always happy with his box squats. Watch this, I got onto him about this. Watch what he does at the top. He's back to looking down at the floor and tucking his chin. This ruins Mike's deadlift. Like I've told him, if he could just get his upper back and head in consistent positions, he could be pulling another 50 pounds more than he does easily. It's just bad habits that he's learned that I'm struggling to get him to unlearn. But, you know, we're working on it, and he's finally pulled over 500. Really, with what his bench and his squat strength is, I've had a lot of people comment, especially with the size of his posterior chain, like he should be pulling 600. Like, I know. If not, he should be pulling close to. A lot of it's just his technique, and for some reason, he's got really bad cues on it, and I'm trying to work with him on unlearning it. It can be difficult long distance, particularly when someone has certain habits ingrained. You know, getting them to unlearn them can be difficult. But we are working on it, and I'm trying to get him to you know, change whatever's going on in his head. You know, what's the thought process that's making you tuck your head all the way down and stab your chest with your chin at the top when you should be looking forward? You know, just like he has that really bad thing of shooting his head way up on a conventional at the bottom and then still stabbing himself in the chest with his chin at the top. You know, there's no need for any of that. All right, so we do, again, some of our normal lifts again after this, belt squat. Good mornings, and I always like to rotate bars. You know, I'm partial to making people do a lot of work on the safety bar for good mornings, and it's because it's more difficult. That's the reason I do it. It's because it sucks. it's not a fun exercise. We can't get nearly as much weight on the bar as we can with any other bar because it changes the moment arm so much. But the upside, we recover from it easy, as long as you've got a strong neck. And of course, then he finishes up with reverse hypers. And there's some goblet squats here at the end. Somehow they got outside of the rotation for the filming, but I decided to leave them in anyway, so you guys can watch him finish up with those. And notice how deep he gets. Notice the dumbbell position on those. This is what I want to see. What Mike and Michelle do in their vlogs for goblet squats, this is what you do. These are what goblet squats are supposed to look like. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.